So these are our auditors, they're like detectives of accounts. And you could specialize in various different industries, be it banking, be it insurance, and be it our local clients, international clients. So there's a mix. We also have our tax and legal practice. So this is where you'll find our tax and VAT consultants. When you're studying accounts, you'll touch base on tax a little bit later along the line, okay? And corporate accounting, which basically these types of accountants would deal with any accounting relating matter to the client. So if their clients don't have an accounting department, we would do that. We would do that ourselves, okay? Even if the company wants to open up a business in another country, or if they want to liquidate their company in Malta, we would get involved in that too. Last but not least, we have our advisory practice. It's the biggest advisory practice in Malta. Consulting is a very interesting area. So you're a problem solver. So if your clients are having any issues, you would sit down, you would do the brainstorming, you would do the research, and come up with solutions for that issue. Now, as an accountant consulting, they do tend to get interested in transactions, so that's evaluations, mergers, acquisitions. As well, there are two, I think they're quite niche, internal and IT audit. That's accounting. Now let's talk about the commerce subjects. And something I would mention is there are certain subjects I don't like, banking and finance. The banking industry is booming. So you'll definitely find an opportunity to utilize that major, for example. So if you have an accounts major, don't, because I've had some students tell me that they would choose marketing, for example, not because, although they might think it's interesting, they would be more interested in banking and finance, but they think that it would be easier to choose the marketing route. First of all, you might find something more challenging than others. Like I remember when I was doing my degree, I found economics challenging. I never had a background in economics before, so it was very new to me. And maybe since I didn't have that background when I had it in my degree, I struggled a little bit, for example. So I think everyone has maybe, but it's something to keep in mind. But don't ever pick one over another because it is easier, right? Okay. But you can opt to have the banking and finance. So we have some students who would be interested in audit, would have a major in banking and finance, and they would specifically audit banking clients, for example. So even that major, it can be put into use. Those that are not interested in accounts whatsoever, again, you have a million options. There are some that really complement one to another. So if again you can do banking and finance and economics, management I heard is really, really interesting as well. So there's a variation of options. But like I said, it's ideal that you choose majors that complement each other. So I understand people who would opt to choose marketing and management, for example. Okay. And marketing can be very, very helpful if you're interested, for example, in market research in the future. So we have some students who have a major in marketing and economics because they want to kind of understand the supply and demand, but they also want to understand, if they have to research on a company's, what clients think of a company reputation, for example. So there's a lot of ways you can use it. And our commerce students, marketing will have either they join our internal marketing team, so that they do all marketing related matters for PwC, but they would also join our management consulting team, where basically they do they have projects related to the environment, they have projects related to transportation, and to a variation of different things. You do not need to have a background in accounts to do this. So I would say those are the two main teams they tend to join. Those that have banking and finance major, they tend to join our banking consulting team. And this was in the assurance practice, where basically they offer consulting services to our banks. I think it's in the name itself. We work with 90% of the banking clients in Malta. So even like the partners, they're known as the banking gurus of Malta. So you'll be literally learning from the best. So in that case, you can opt for the banking consulting team, banking and finance, and they join the transactions team and advisory. So I would say that it is ideal that you have a bit of a background in accounts in this team, even if it is an A level, it is helpful. So this is what I mean. So just because you have a major in accounts doesn't mean you need to opt to do your master's in accountancy. And on top of that, it can still help you with your future um, your future role too, even if you are not practicing to be an accountant. Again, back in finance, you can do management consulting as well. There are some people who join our corporate accounting services team to do the business sides of things. So things. So not to do the accounts, but to do the liquidation, to help open up a business, to help with the administration. So you don't need to be doing accounts, to be doing something like that. Like I said, if you know what you want to do, that's fantastic. And choose the majors that you feel are in line with your future professional career goals, whatever they may be. Those who are unsure and confused, again, I would opt for the options that would keep you, the options that would offer you some more opportunities. Something I would like to mention for those who are considering accounts, you need to keep one thing in mind. There are certain jobs that you need to be a qualified accountant to do. But a qualified accountant can still do the work of a consultant, for example, because there isn't, unless you've but that's a different conversation. I might not get into that. But someone who doesn't have their qualification in accounts cannot be an auditor, for example. So that is why I'm telling you, if you are confused, better safe than sorry and go for the accounts major. And then, like I said, you have 2 years to commit because that's when you choose your masters after 2 years. So you don't need to do that now. You know what I mean? You don't need to do that tomorrow. You do that in your third year. So you have plenty of time to decide. But I'd rather you do that because I have had students in the past who didn't do their accounts major and then opted to do ACC on the side while they are at university, which is fine. Again, that's another option too. But ideally, it's not a decision that is kind of forced on you. It's a decision you wanted to take in the first place, anyways. I don't know if any of you have any questions or if there's something that's on your mind that you would like us to discuss, because I'd rather do that than go into a lot of detail, a lot of information, and make you even more confused. Hey, Ranson, I didn't see you there.
Hey.
How are you?
Alright.
You're
Alright.
Yeah?
Huh?
You left yet or?
Yes, I've been a month here. I'll plug in
You've
the
been a
phone.
month. How's it going?
Oh, great. Excellent.
Yes, amazing. Oh, sorry, Ranson is a student of PwC and he's currently on Erasmus, and we're all very, very jealous. Guys, I don't know if you have any questions because I'd like to have a bit of a discussion, and this is the time to be asking these questions. You can also, if you want, add it to the chat.
When we distributed the Google Forms, there was someone, but it was anonymous, who asked a question within the forms if you want.
Sure, yes, go through it.
They said, what is the most realistic average pay per sector in Malta and Europe?
Average pay, so as a graduate?
I think so,
As a graduate, okay, so I think that's a good question. Usually a starting salary of a new graduate, again, keeping in mind that probably things will change by the time you graduate in a positive way, right? Because it's good that there's so much competition in Malta because it keeps us on our toes And it puts the companies in a position where they have to, be competitive and offer fair salaries, which is what we want to do. Usually, a graduate salary is in the 20s. I wouldn't expect anything above, 20s. I would say either early 20s or mid 20s at the moment. But like I said, things could change. Now, as a student, have different expectations. So someone who is, a first year university student shouldn't be expecting a salary of mid 20s, right? Because you're still not, you haven't graduated yet. So once you graduate, that will have an extremely positive impact on your salaries. In fact, if you are, looking for opportunities and so on, or you are currently employed, and maybe it is unclear to you, because usually once you finish um, your student life, you will receive, and if you want to remain with that company once you graduate, you would receive a better salary. And sometimes that is actually mentioned in your student contract. If it's not there and you're curious, feel free to ask their HR representative of the company, because they will have that knowledge and usually they're transparent about it. Honestly, they would want to be transparent because they will want to retain you. Okay. All right. What can I do? Where is the chat? Okay. What can I do with insurance and risk management major at PwC? So, insurance and risk is also an area that is booming. We were speaking about banking before. You can do so much with risk. You can work in compliance. I feel that it is also an area you either love or you hate. So if you have an interest in it, I suggest finding an internship, getting your hands dirty, because most often than not, like I said, it's either you love it or you don't love it. So compliance is something that would be of interest to you. KYC, know your client, especially after the pandemic and everything that's going on at the moment with the economy and with the world. KYC has become even more important. I mean, we literally have a massive internal team just because, obviously we have so many clients and we have so many procedures to follow. Risk can also help you with banking. So if you're interested in banking, I feel that banking and risk do come hand in hand, especially when it comes to regulations and policies. Obviously, like I mentioned, if you're going into a consulting type of role, research is something that you do need to do. And you would end up doing quite a bit of research on risk. Now, risk and insurance combined. So insurance, for example, at PwC, we have a team specifically on insurance. So we have almost half of the insurance clients in the market, and we offer three things. So we offer auditing services. So that's pretty self-explanatory. We offer IFRS 17 consulting. IFRS 17 is an insurance standard, an accounting standard, okay, specifically to the insurance industry. And lastly, we do have a couple of actuaries. If anyone is interested if you're an actuary, I highly recommend it. We do not have enough actuaries in Malta. It pays very, very, very well, and there's a lot of opportunities. Okay, so I suggest you do a bit of research on it. And to be honest, we'll be organizing a talk about it. The cost, obviously, we'll be sharing details about that. So us specifically, we work with insurance clients, but we do not do. For example, there's Atlas, right, who's going to be speaking later. We're very different to what Atlas does. So Atlas would offer, claims for their clients and policies. So that is something we do not do. It's very different. But yes, we do have students who are interning in different areas, especially, specifically as well in risk and so on. Does PwC have an investment professional evaluation team? Yes, that would definitely form part of our transactions team. We joke and we say, Andrea, if I didn't answer your question completely, please ask me for a follow-up. That would be the transactions team. And we joke and we say that it is really, really sexy. It is sexy because the type of work, the projects, it is booming. Brian and Podevin, which are the partners that head this area, they know that they're good at their job. They're an absolute pleasure to work with. So yes, it is a very, very, very interesting area. Stocks, for example, maybe is not something we are so important. So we do not have a license to offer, professional advice to stocks. So I'm not going to, a client tells me like, you should invest in this, and that. Definitely not. But we obviously need to understand the market because we have clients who make massive decisions based on what's going on. So we do get involved in their investments, but not when it comes with stocks and so on. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Anything else on your mind? Okay. If you want, we also, this time of year is one of my favorite times of year because it's a lot of conversations with students. If you want, we also offer one-on-one chats, one-on-one meetings with students. So if, for example, you're interested in becoming an economist and you don't really know what that involves, I can actually set a meeting with someone in the firm who does that. And so that is definitely something we can offer you. Obviously, if you are interested in opportunities, well, I would love to have a chat with you. Can speak about internships. In fact, I would say 90% of our students have no idea what they want to do. Nothing. And that's normal. It's the exceptions usually that they'll be like, I'm going to be this in 5 years, okay? So it's normal to be confused and curious. So we offer rotation. So if, for example, I am interested in audit and tax, I would work in audit and tax, especially when it comes to commerce students and non-accounting, because accounting, they'll want to work in all of the 4 accounting areas. But maybe you're a commerce student, you might have a specific interest in banking, okay, and you'd only want to work in the teams that specifically work with banking clients, for example, and we set up an individual plan for that student. Now, how to reach out? We have a form, and you can just do, there's an option to say which event this came from, put an ASCS talk. So I know that most likely you'll want to have a chat about, meeting an accountant, for example, and so on. If you want my direct email address, it's this. Something I didn't mention before, maybe I should have mentioned, although I form part of the HR department, I'm very involved in the student program area, so literally my full-time job is helping you guys. So feel free to reach out. I do not believe in silly and stupid questions. Every question is a good question, so don't feel shy, and you can reach out, okay? In the meantime, before I close off, because I am cautious of the time, does anyone want to add anything? Okay. These are my final words. Do not let yourself get overwhelmed, and don't put too much pressure of yourself. Irrespective of what you choose, there is definitely a lot of opportunities waiting for you. Okay? I promise you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mela, just you can start whenever you want to. Thank you.
Okay, great. Everyone there. Assuming everyone is seeing my screen, right? Right. Maybe you can jump in here and.
Yes.
It's called rock and roll. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our little presentation from Brandwagon. My name is Pete, and I'm the CEO of Brandwagon. I set up Brandwagon in 2006, and with me is Raisa Bonello, who's our head of client services. Raisa has been with us for quite some time, and she pretty much knows the industry inside out. So she's here to support this discussion and also obviously give a different background about who Brandwagon is and sort of where we're coming from. I can say that, you know, Brandwagon to me has been obviously quite a great opportunity. It's a business I've been working in since obviously day one, since 2006. That's 16 years on the 4th of July. And thanks to this opportunity of working at Brandwagon, I've managed to travel around the world, from places in the Middle East to San Francisco, New York. We've done business in various different countries, and we've worked on some really, really fantastic projects, both at the local level and also at an international level. So the scope of today's presentation is to give you a bit of background about Brandwagon, and also give you an understanding of the type of roles you could play in a branding agency like ours. Okay, so I'm going to head off into the presentation. So yeah, as I said, Brandwagon was set up 16 years ago. Today we go by the kind of you know, understanding that we're a strategic creative consultancy. What does that mean? Well, to show you what that means, rather than talking, I'm going to show you a bit of the work that we do. And so there's a short video, and then you can, we'll get to the point of what we actually do. So here you go. Let me know if you can't hear or see.
What's important is your purpose, your principles, your proposition. That's what brands are built on.
It's how your audience feels about your brand in their hearts that matters. Form follows function. Great design nails both.
Good tech can make a brand experience shine. Bad tech can break it.
Great work doesn't need explanation. You know it works just by experiencing it.
Everything we do has to have a reason. Cross-team collaboration makes us strong.
Creatives are strategic and great strategists engage creatively.
This is what we do.
This was always a storytelling project.
We didn't want anything to get in the way of the story.
How do you want your audience to experience your brand?
So I hope that helps give you an understanding of what we do. So as I was saying, this organization has been around for a number of years, and over the last 16 years, there have been a number of great firsts that we had and a number of great projects that we did, and there's obviously been a number of changes. So the business started off between myself and a couple of freelancers, and over the years, we started to employ different people. We were one of the first, I think, if not the first agency to start advertising on social media, when a lot of the older agencies at the time used to think that that was never going to work. So people thought that Facebook would never get started, and you know, things like Instagram and even Google ads wouldn't work. So many things have passed since then. We're also one of the first agencies to also have a technology department within our business, which today helps us create websites for clients, create apps for clients, and help our customers get in touch with their own customers in a much better way. So we call our employees wagoners because they're on the wagon, and that's kind of how we refer to ourselves. There are 3 different verticals, which I'll get into in a second. And we also have what we call an ISO certification, which is basically a certification of quality through our processes. There's a lot of discussion about purpose, and obviously everybody following their purpose. So we thought it would be important to share what Brandwagon's purpose is. Brandwagon's purpose is in pursuit of brand excellence. What that means is that everything we do as leaders, and myself, Raiza, and the rest of the team, is basically work towards helping the rest of our team become the best versions of themselves. So in that way, they achieve their full potential, and they can help our own customers, you know, push their brands and serve their own customers in an even better way. Over the years, we've served over 440 clients and also created from scratch 240 different brands, which is something which we're extremely proud of. Our vision as an organization over the next over the future is to become the most desirable company to work with. And that is, I know, a big, hairy, audacious goal for somebody to just cry out over there in front of these university students who will be out there to quote me in a couple of years' time. But the idea over here is that we want to be the company that everybody would like to work with, both as a customer, as a client, as well as an employee. And we know that that means that we need to continue changing. We know that the organization that we are today is very different to the organization that we were in 2006 and will be extremely different by 2026. So in fact, as you can see, Raiza today is working from the office, which is at the Old Fossens Brew House, quite a fun place to be in. And I'm actually working from home because half my family is sick, so I'm obviously in charge of making sure that everything stays on track. We're a very flexible organization. There are people who've moved out of the country and are living in different places. We employ people from UK, we employ people from the Netherlands. We've had clients across the globe. And for us, so long as you're determined to follow our brand purpose, and so long as you're a brand that wants to do good in the world, we're happy to work with you. In fact, based on that, this is what we think. We do feel like our mission at the end of the day is to make a better world by building better brands. So just a quick skim. What we actually do with clients and what we actually sell, if you could say, is divided between 3 different pillars. So there's strategy, design, and tech. From a strategy side, we look through business analysis, we give our customers advice, we create strategies, marketing plans, we create naming ideas, we help them build their brand architecture. From a creative perspective, as I said, we create names, we create logos, we create websites, we create advertising campaigns, apps, and then we help develop those through tech. So that is effectively the 3 different pillars of the organization. We're happy and proud to say that we're Google and Facebook partners. And these are just some of the businesses that we've served over the last years and so on, over the past couple of years. I was going to take this slide out because I thought it made me look ridiculous, but we said, why not? At least show the human side. So even though I'm actually wearing a shirt, just because I thought that's smart enough for this presentation, the reality is that Brandwagon is a very, very casual organization. In reality, we believe that whilst we all die once, we can live every single day, and we do make sure that we live our true selves at our business. So it's very clear that people who work at Brandwagon need to live an authentic life and also push, to make sure that what we're doing is actually authentic. So I'm moving on to the next part of our presentation. I'm also going to be shutting up and letting Raiza to do some of the talking. So we're going to be going through a couple of the projects that we worked on. Raiza is going to be going through some of the details of all the projects that we've done, what we did, who was involved in those projects, just to give you an understanding sort of what we do in our line of work. So, Rai, mic open, and one of your projects that kept you extremely busy over the last 2 years is wellness.
Yes, so just to give some practical examples of what all this means from a day-to-day and how it also kind of is distributed between different departments that we have internally. So Wellbees basically came in with the brief was that there is going to be 5 local huge supermarkets which are going to be merging together. And they needed a name, they needed a brand, they needed a launch campaign, and everything else in between that you'd imagine that would be needed in a supermarket, from anything from lift posters to email signatures. So yeah, so the way it works from a process point of view is that step 1 in this case was to always ask the why. And we work together with the main directors there to understand a bit better what the purpose was for this new brand, what they were actually trying to achieve, who the main audiences are. And once all that framework is in hand, only then we can go to the next step, which is to start and brainstorm on some possible names which would kind of hit the mark on all of the things that we're trying to achieve. So yeah, so step 2 would be coming up with the name. The name is usually, from experience, one of the toughest parts of the job. because of trademarks, because of a lot of ins and downs of making sure that the name it means the same to you as it means to me. Nothing that we do at the Wagon is subjective. We make sure that everything is backed up by research as much as possible, and that everything makes sense for everyone within the audiences and the different ages and groups that we're dealing with. So yeah, so we finally came up with the Wellbees, which was one of the options which got the most votes from their end. We would have tested it internally to make sure that it's future-proof as well. And then once the name sticks, we'll obviously move on to the next step, which is actually branding it. That is when the creative team comes in, they work on the branding, they do all the testing on all the different applications, see how it would work on all the different posters and wayfinding and everything else that you can imagine. Creating a logo sometimes is the easy part because it always looks lovely on a white background. But then when it comes to the application and when you have 100 offers and when you have buy one, get one free, and you also have to put their logo on, and you also have to mention this third party, and it also has to fit in this awkward size in the lift. And that's when the reality of the job comes in. So we like to make sure that we don't just paint a pretty picture and just leave. So everything that we do, even at stage one, which is when it comes to the branding, is we actually work on a lot of mock-ups. I would have gone to a lot of the outlets, taken photos, make sure that we actually work on the most awkward artworks that we can find to make sure that it really works. So yeah, so here are just a few of the examples, both mocked up on phone and desktop in this case for their website, presentations that we would have done along the way. And this was another case of where they basically decided to change all the outlets overnight. So apart from obviously all the work that we would have done, there was a lot of logistics that were needed as well to make sure that even for hands-on suppliers are there to make sure that they change the signages, that they actually stick the right content in. Also from a digital point of view, all the Facebook pages have to make sure that their name changed there, that the campaign kicks off, that all the digital ads. So as you can see, there's a lot of people involved. It goes beyond just a one-man show. There's anyone from digital, creative, all the tech guys, strategy to make sure that all the PR or the presses that are going out are written well. So, a lot goes in with a lot of different departments. Pete.
Right, I want to jump in and take this one on
Yes.
because this was my baby. This is one of the most exciting brands I've ever worked on. I don't know if you guys are familiar with FRVR. FRVR produce games, typically mobile games, and they're free games, which basically grab people's attention. They're the type of games that you can download on your phone, but you can also play without actually downloads. They actually work with a number of different countries, and they've recently just got 50 million euros worth of investments to have their business go to the next level. These guys are Swedish owners based in Portugal. They used to be based in Malta, but then they moved to Portugal, and we were responsible to helping them build their brand framework, which means their principles and their values from the internal perspective of their organization, how to rally the troops to kind of move forward as one united organization, as well as then reflect that rebrand externally with some design. So as you can see over here, these are some of the things that we worked on for them, including their new brand purpose, their values, their tagline, an application across a number of different areas. Of course, including all the merch that needs to be done, including all the bags and apps and internal posters. I'm conscious of the time, and we've got quite a lot of different projects. So I'm going to start skimming through the stuff. How much time do we actually have available? It's 20 minutes or 25 minutes?
We have till 4.
Oh, okay, cool. So we'll make it we've got 15 minutes left. Very good. Okay, right. So the next one's on you, and you can go in a bit more detail.
Yes, it's okay. So RakeTech was a perfect example of a company coming to us. They already had the name, but visually what they had was very corporate, and they realize that it's time for them to kind of challenge and be much bolder, so that they can also start attracting a younger, fresher, cooler from a recruitment point of view as well. So this was one of the projects we really loved, because it was the brief was basically a clean slate for us to push it as much as we can, to ignore the brand colors that they already have and then the restrictions. So yeah, so we really did go all out on this one. So it was a very cool project to work on. It did really well in the launch. There were a number of forums and different conferences that they attended, which was fully branded by them as well, which got really good feedback. So as you can see here, this sometimes with brands you push it, you go in challenging a lot and making sure that you kind of go over and above. Sometimes we're asked to tone it down because maybe it's a little bit too bold or it's a little bit too much, but that to us is good. I think the worst situation to be is when you go in with just a basic proposal and it's approved just for the sake of being approved. And then in hindsight, you say, sir, we could have done more, or we could have done something more creative. So this is one of the cool ones, really.
In fact, yes. Just taking over from that lead, right, about taking it forward and making things make sense. We're actually tasked over here to help with Rhinoceros Group with their character design. So they actually asked us to create a character for as their employer brand. They already had their logo was already made up of a rhino, but they wanted to create this cartoon character which was based around the rhino. And this is basically a number of the sketches that we started to work on. So even though most of the stuff is digital and you might assume that everything is done on computers, a lot of the sketching was actually done by hand. Sure, it was done on an iPad Pro, but the sketching was actually done real time. And we basically worked on a number of different sketches. Here you're only seeing a couple of them, but we worked on, I don't know how many different sketches in various different positions. We worked and did loads of different research into the type of uniform that this rhino could wear, the positioning of this rhino, how he'd carry his weight, whether he was going to be ultra skinny or ultra muscly, or actually have a bit of a dad bod, as you'd expect from a rhino. And so there's a lot of different things that we put in there, and also talked about different positions that this rhino could take within the organization. So, how could you actually manifest this rhino as a proper team player? And so this is kind of what we built for Rhinoceros Group, and and it's obviously working extremely well. What's interesting to say about this is that besides the illustrators, the designers, and the character animators that we're working on this project, we actually collaborated with a very, very specific animator who actually lives in Brazil. So it was an animator who's actually really, really good on working these type of animations. So we got in touch with him, and there was this whole collaborative project, which was actually working with somebody literally across the pond. We can't speak Portuguese, and he couldn't speak much English, so we kind of got by, but obviously the results still worked. The next project, I think, Rai, you focused on this. No, this is the US, Austin, Texas-based brand of Invicti.
Yes, so what's cool to note as well is that, as you can see from these case studies, one of the perks of working in an agency in general is that every day is different, in the sense that all the clients are very different, coming in from different industries. At the moment, we have anything from gaming to hospitality, restaurants, more of the tech side of things. So it's always different. So you learn a lot about the different industries. You get exposed to a lot of different people, anyone from marketing to heads off to directors. So here for Invicti, the same thing. We redid the brand for them right after strategy work that we've done for them. You can see here that we presented a number of applications. Yes, I think this was a very successful one as well. Yeah.
I just realized how many tote bags we keep in our presentations, right? I wonder how many brands actually print those tote bags, but can't be a brand without a tote bag. So here, the next couple of slides are just a couple of slides to show the technology side of Brandwagon. So basically, these are a number of sites that we build. When we talk about developing websites, it's more than just developing some fancy interface and creating all the code that goes behind this website, but it actually includes a lot of different people to analyze who are the types of customers that are going to be viewing the specific site. What type of customers are they? What are they actually looking for? What are they trying to achieve? and as well as, where are they going to get to in terms of where does the brand want to take them? Okay, so that obviously in terms of, what is the final call to action that somebody going onto a site wants. So in this case, it might be buying some technology, and in this case, it's actually buying or renting a place or putting up your property up to buy or to rent. We've also, worked with insurance companies like Casa Mamma. I don't know if you're aware of this recent app that they launched, which is basically if you're involved in an accident, you can basically do everything through your app without having to make it overly complicated. We were heavily involved in the user experience and the user interface design for that project. And again, quite a nice, fun project to work with. Over COVID, we did this project called Order It. We've actually just taken down the site, but it was there to help all our customers who didn't actually have an online site quickly, within a couple of weeks, go up online and and start to sell their products online. This is FRVR's employer branding website. We've worked for law firms, we've worked for gaming companies, as you can see, we've worked for technology companies, more technology companies. So that's kind of, what we do. I think what's really interesting, however, is like, what sort of talent are we looking for? Who are the people that get involved, and working in an agency like Brandwagon? And this, if you wish, it's not a complete organogram, but actually we tried kind of distilling the type of roles and the type of people that we typically employ. One thing that I want to say about Brandwagon is that despite the fact that, in spite of the fact that we always look for people who are specialized and who are talented in a specific role, we do heavily invest in our people to continue to grow and to continue to learn. And I think that is extremely important. We're also big fans of people who have a life outside of their work life. So even though we believe it's extremely important for you guys to really concentrate on your studies and achieve, your university degrees, it's also extremely important to do something outside of your degree and also focus on things which are important maybe for society, sports, music, whatever passions that you might have, do go out and get them, because as people, you become more rounded when your life is actually fuller rather than it's just about, completing your studies. In no means am I saying let go of your studies, but do yourselves a favor and become well-rounded individuals. So at the top of this page, what's most important is that we always focus on our customers come first, but then below that and serving the customers, you can see there are all the different pillars. Raisa is going to go in a bit of detail soon to explain who are involved in each of those pillars. Underneath, you can see that big pink pillar is the advisory, which is basically people within the organization at Brandwagon who strive to achieve, who strive to learn more, are normally welcome within our advisory board. So we include the best of our best to kind of help always continue to grow the firm. Then there's our leadership team, which Ryan and myself form part of. And at the bottom of that is the shareholders of Brandwagon, which today are 4 of us, but as time passes on, we're starting to bring in more of our employees as actual owners within the business. And I think that is obviously very important to say that we believe that the organization is only about the people who work in the organization, and the better the people, the better the work, the better the customers. Right, over to you.
Yes. So here what we've tried to do is kind of break down the different departments so that you can start to get more tangible examples of the different opportunities that someone like us would offer. So for example, under marketing, you're going to see the marketing exec, who takes care of basically anything marketing, even internally. How do we market Brandwagon within itself in terms of us getting new clients as well? Events. It could be a client launch, for example. So making sure that you need to be the person that is helping out to put together the launch or assisting the client in anything that they need. Customer experience, which is obviously super important. Anyone from project manager. So the project manager is the person that is ultra organized, but also someone who needs to take initiative, take lead, and basically is orchestrating everything from beginning to end with the team internally to make sure that when a brief comes in, they book in time with everyone knows what they need to do, a timeline and a project plan is set, and basically every day making sure that everything is in check, and if not, adjust and keep kind of at it until the project is done to the best standard and within the deadline allocated. Business development, so we have our own team who take care of new business, making sure that we still month on month get new clients which are attractive to us, clients that we love working with. So that's more of a sales oriented person. Strategy, our brand managers are the ones that work on that phase one, which I explained before, which is asking the right questions, drilling down to make sure that the brief that we are given is actually the right brief, challenging, putting together the framework, identifying who the audiences are. Social media managers, so these would be all the social gurus who understand what the latest trends are on socials, on the different platforms. If TikTok is it at the moment, how do we get there? What is the best way to do it? Tech advisors. So this is someone who obviously has background in anything tech, making sure that they're there to advise the client on what the right steps are for them. Or if, for example, they need a new site, the tech advisors might come in and say, actually, maybe this solution would actually be better for what you need, or the best use of your investment, of your cash is to potentially use this side of our service. So yes, anything advisory. Analysis as well. I mean, this is something that goes throughout all the departments as well. So something that we at Brandwagon do is that we offer a canvas audit. So what the team does across all the departments is that we look at where a brand is at a point in time. We check out all the different kind of red flags that they have, and we help them fix it to improve as much as they can their brand. Creative, so the designers who focus on all the, for example, branding and campaigns, UX UI designers who are focused on the tech side, the digital side of things, the designing of the sites, developers, the techies, they'll code, they'll do the backend stuff, copywriters, obviously someone who has a massive flair on content writing and making sure that they're a big part of our campaigns or write-ups on our sites and anything else that's needed. We also obviously have a department dedicated for our people, so HR, making sure that everything is done from that end. Traffic managers to make sure that the creatives have time on their day-to-day schedule, which is updated, so it's not like all crazy and everyone knows what they need to be doing on that specific day. Mentors overall to make sure that everyone is encouraging each other. And the last one is finance from an accounts point of view to obviously make sure that all the projects are being billed well, credit control, and also in general just a finance director to make sure that even from payroll everything is done well. So as you can see, a lot of different roles. We're always open to talent. So that's why we enjoy talking in such talks like today. I encourage you to reach out. There's an email, I think, at the end, Pete. I encourage you, yes, to reach out if you have any questions or if you just want to eventually just drop in your CV. We also sometimes have opportunities for interns as well. So yes, just in case if anyone has any questions now, fire away. No?
Yeah, well done, right? Bang on time. I guess thank you everybody for your time today. We really enjoyed it. And if anybody wants to reach out to us, like I said, do send us an email on jumpon@brandwagon.com, brandwagon without vowels, and do let us know how we can support you. We do help students who are looking for any sort of support, if that's an internship or if you're working on a project or you need to interview us for something specific, do reach out. We're always extremely happy to help the next generation of talent that's going to be taking over the world. So with that, we bid you farewell. Have yourselves a good afternoon, I guess, unless there's anything you need to tell us before we fly. I'll take that as a no. All right, cool. Sayonara, everybody.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ciao.
Hi and welcome, I'm Mr. Kassar. I don't know if you have any slides to share. I think you're muted.
Yes, no, we don't have any slides to share.
All right, okay. Mela.
We can start?
Yes, the floor is yours. Is it okay if we record the session?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
So first of all, hello to everyone, good afternoon. I'm joined with my colleague Sophie here. So I'm going to share my experience with you all, my university experience. So I actually enrolled for the university at for the accountancy course, of course. So I started 2009. I did the 3 years BCom, and then I studied accounts major and management. It was a lovely experience whereby I've learned a lot, I had to say. The reason I've chosen accounts and management is because accounts was always my preferred subject, so it was very easy for me to choose, to be honest. Management I chose because I think in life management is very important, because while you need an area of expertise on a day-to-day basis, management helps you to grow up within a firm. And for that reason, I chose management. There were other subjects which were of interest to me. There was, I remember, banking, insurance, marketing. So there were other subjects, but management, I thought it was the best decision that I made. Looking with hindsight, I think I made the right decision. So I still practice accounts till today. However, I decided to specialize in the area of taxation. So my area of expertise is taxation, and I've been working in tax as soon as I finished university. Today, I work at Fenlex, as you can see. I've been working here for around 7 years now. University teaches you a lot, but I think work teaches you much more. So experience is very valuable, and the experience that you've got from university, although you don't use it all, I think it's a very good basis for your work. Not sure if I've covered everything. I mean, this is my experience, and I know, of course, that there are students on the schools, so maybe you'll find something that, I mean, I'm not sure whether I'm going to choose accounts or maybe I'm going to choose marketing. Maybe that is your current decision of what you're going to do in your life. What I suggest, or at least my recommendation to you, would be, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years time? How do you see yourself? And I know that might not be the only question that you need to ask, but at least for myself, it helped me a lot to choose accounts and management. Something else, I mean, because at 18 years old or 19, I don't know the age group of everyone, but it is a very like a big call in your life, because it will decide the next 30-40 years of work experience ahead of you. So it's like a big decision. Here at Fenlex also we have an internship program which we use. So we've recently launched a career traineeship program at Fenlex. So those students who are like not decided 100% whether they are choosing the right decision, and maybe choosing a career with Fenlex will also help you determine whether accounts or tax maybe is the right decision in your life, because you get hands-on experience with us. So that is very valuable in my opinion. Sophie, I'm not sure whether you would like to add something else.
Hi, I'm Sophie. So just a brief overview about me. I just finished university, so I've been at university for the past 5 years. I went in like with the interest of accountancy, but I kind of said, let me choose banking and finance, which basically I thought would give me more of an overview on the financial industry. And I said, kind of, I've never worked in accounts. If I started working in accounts and I end up not liking it, at least I feel like banking and finance had a wide range. To be fair, they all have a very wide range. And there are countless opportunities really in most of the majors. Luckily, I started working my summer of the second year, and I actually really enjoyed accountancy. So I went on to do my master's in accounts, and I just finished. Hopefully, still waiting on my results. So basically, I just joined Fenlex 4 months ago. My kind of advice would be at your age, especially, I don't know if you've chosen your majors already or not, but just pick something that is you're really passionate about, because at the end of the day, it's going to kind of your outlook at work is going to differ. If you're actually interested in the subject, you're going to be motivated at work, you're going to be positive at work, you're not going to see it as, oh my God, another day at work, you know, sort of if you find it challenging, you find it interesting, and it's really important. In actual fact, it worked the opposite way for me. I enjoyed accountancy and I hated banking and finance. And I couldn't imagine myself actually working in that field. But again, there's something to do in all fields. So for example, at Fenlex, we have, if you're interested in banking and finance, there's the compliance, and because basically a bit of overview on Fenlex, we are so made up of 3 companies. Mainly, we're kind of the accountancy, the corporate service provider from Fenwick and Fenwick Advocates. We're average age is like around 30. So quite a young firm. And we have basically we provide Fenlex. Actually, Fenlex provides compliance services, directorship services, accountancy and tax, payroll services, exactly.
Administration.
So quite a broad range. So even if you take insurance and you have risk management and you're interested in that field, this kind of still goes in with the compliance, for example, sector. Obviously, accountancy, if you choose to take your master's in accountancy, you can go into accounts, you can go into tax, you can start in accounts. And what I found working here, because it's smaller teams, you kind of have like you understand the knowledge, kind of how I want to say, like you work a bit you still understand the corporate side, you still understand the tax side, because the teams are quite close together, quite linked. So if, for example, I've been working in accounts and I say, I really enjoy when I'm working on the tax side of it, you can choose to move to the tax accountancy sector, and it's been done before, in fact. So there's kind of flexibility, especially if you're not sure exactly what you want to do at this age, obviously.
The good thing about accountancy, of course, is that there is such the role of an accountant is such a broad role and vast role that you can choose your area, your preferred area. So there is the valuation kind of accountant. There is the accountant who specializes maybe in tax, in the traditional accountant. There is the corporate side of things. So the role is broad and vast, as you said. So
exactly.
That is one of the advantages of choosing accountancy as one of our majors.
For sure. And even obviously, like if you have management, it always helps if you want to, like eventually become a manager of anything. It's always handy to have, or marketing, but what I have now, the marketing side of Fenlex. So if you're interested in that kind of aspect as well. What's good about Fenlex as well is that we're with a client from literally incorporation to if the case liquidation stage, exactly. So you have this relationship with the clients, and as I said, you have the relationship with your colleagues, because you're not a massive firm. You know the faces when you come into work, you know everyone's face, whereas other places where I've worked, kind of you don't have that closeness, exactly, that relationship. Not sure there's anything I'm thinking of.
Maybe we can wrap up at this stage, but so my conclusion and my suggestion to our students present for this call would be always choose your preferred area. before you make a decision like this, speak to colleagues, speak to other friends that you have, and I think the purpose of this session is also to help you make the right decision in your life. As I said, so always say, where do I imagine myself to work in? And obviously choosing the right firm, obviously following your studies to pursue your dreams, basically.
Definitely. And just to add on to that, like, don't be afraid to take risks, guys. We'll work in the industry, luckily, that has a lot of jobs available. Don't be afraid to go for interviews, and kind of don't just stop at the big four, because everyone says you go to the big four. Obviously, if you want to start there, feel free. But if you don't feel like it's your place, then go do interviews. How you end up going, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of experience waiting for you wherever you go, sort of thing. And basically just go, see where you feel the most comfortable, you know, and where you feel like you can see yourself long term, not just because that's the route that most people take, sort of thing. Yes. And hopefully you pick things that you enjoy and you actually end up enjoying your work and your career in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
Not sure if you have any questions at this stage. Maybe if you want, you can raise any questions that you have.
And we received 2 questions on the Google form we distributed.
Sure.
So the first one was, what is the most realistic average pay per sector in Malta and Europe?
What is, sorry?
The most realistic average salary pay?
Exactly, yes. So for students after they graduate, they want to get into Fenlex.
So no, we have a salary scale. Obviously, it depends on the because the sector, the experience of an individual. But I cannot like shoot numbers. But it's a good salary. So we pay above average salaries. If you want to give you an answer, so there you go.
All right, thank you. And the second one was, what majors would one need to work at Fenlex? So if you have economics, for example, would there be an opportunity at Fenlex?
The way that we work is that we don't discard anyone. So we do conduct interviews on a regular basis, because sometimes what happens in practice is that you're looking for a candidate, for example, but then you find that you need this candidate for another sector within your firm. So this is how we work, and experience has shown that even though you think that this person is not like relevant in the immediate term, then you realize that you need someone, for example, in economics, that you need. For example, economists are very useful and helpful when it comes to advisory. This is a growing area within Fenlex, where we are growing our advisory team, whereby you need economists, accountants, experts in valuation. So the more that is why I said in the beginning that the role of an accountant is always getting more interesting, because it's not the world like 30 years ago, whereby you have the traditional accountant doing everything. Nowadays, you have expertise and people who are expert in a particular field, and given the amount of laws that are coming in, definitely you need to specialize in a particular area. Gone are the days whereby you are the accountant for various types of industries and one-man show, and those kind of things are today the past. So to answer that question, yes, we consider economists, not just economists, but also other professionals, yes.
We have someone working in compliance who's a sports science, who graduated in sports science. So it's quite, I think it's dependent on coming to the interview, showing what you're interested in, showing what you know, what you can do, and then make a decision.
In fact, also we again, also we have someone who studied criminology. So if you think about it, criminology, they have their mind, their forma mentis is different than, for example, in my case, accountancy. So the skeptical mind, that process, how you think and how you act. So yes, we are very open to different kind of professions, not just accountancy or tax professions. No.
Okay, then thank you very much. If there are no more questions, I think we can wrap up here. I don't think there are any more questions.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, if you have any questions that you think of after, feel free to speak to us. You have our names.
Yes, you can send me an email on my name, william.kassar@fenlex.com, and Sophie.
And sophie.gat@fenlex.com.
Yeah.
Mela, let me. All right, I'll send them in the chat so that everyone has access to them.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you personally as well for this opportunity. I remember ASCS at my time at university, and it was very supportive in my case. So
I remember as well last May, this May.
So thank you for the opportunity as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day.
No problem.
No problem.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mela, for the rest of the students, I think you all deserve a 10-minute break, and then we can rejoin at 16:25 for the next speaker.
Hi. Hi Meg. Mela. All right. Wasalna. Good afternoon. Let me just move because I'm not sure you're seeing me well. All right.
I think we can start. Let me just share my presentation. Someone confirm.
Yes, you can see the slides. Thank you.
Okay, so really, we have a short time together today, so we'll try and go through it quite quickly. What I'm going to do for my part is walk you through a bit sort of the big picture purpose of our industry and what sort of jobs you can expect to find in the insurance industry. And then I will leave it in Tiziana's hands to explain to you her experience actually on the job and give you some sort of first-hand info. Okay, so most of you, I imagine, would have completed by this stage maybe some optional credit in insurance or have heard of insurance. I know it's a mixed group, right? There are people who are completing new and some people who are selecting their masters. So for the people who've already had insurance, you can ignore me for the first 5 minutes. So basically, what the role insurance plays in the economy is basically as the economy grows, it requires more support, more stability, more security, and so insurance needs grows with it. In fact, there is a direct relationship between a country's GDP and its insurance costs, the amount of insurance purchased. It provides provides security for individual people. So people buying cars, people buying homes, it gives them the security that something goes wrong, their investment is not lost. It provides similar risk mitigation to businesses, so they can open a business, you take that risk, with the bank loans you the money, and the insurance bears the risk, so that you can obviously progress. And then sort of in the wider picture, there's also the function of insurance. Insurers tend to keep a lot of money in reserve because they need to make sure that if big claims come along, they have the money to pay them. So there are big funds being stored by insurance companies. That is then invested into the economy, in investments, and in that way, it sort of supports also that part of the economy. So this is a bit of an overview of where insurance stands in the bigger picture. At Atlas, we offer a variety of products, both investments, personal business, and commercial business. So we participated in those three aspects. As a company, we prioritize always customer care, and I think that is sort of what differentiates us as a company. We have two main head offices, 12 branches, 42 tied intermediaries. So we're quite a large insurance provider, a local insurance provider. Okay, so we offer a variety of personal insurance products. There's home insurance, health, life, car, accident, and travel insurance. And commercial insurance, this is basically for businesses and professionals. And then there is obviously the claims function. In an organization, you usually have the sales function, you have the customer care function, which for existing clients, people would call with queries, and they would check their cover. And then you would have the claims function, where obviously people would claim, and then you have people assessing that claims. In each department, if we take, for example, health, you would have health sales jobs, health customer care jobs, and health claims jobs. Then, obviously, there are support functions, and these are really becoming much bigger in the last couple of years, especially compliance functions, risk management functions, anti-money laundering officers. These are all new jobs that are coming into play, and they're quite big also in the insurance industry. There's also marketing, and there's also finance. Specialment people, we tend to have trouble also recruiting people who have a combination of insurance and accounts. And accounting in the insurance industry is different because there is projected claims and projected premiums. So it's different than accounting in a company fejn qed taħdem b'dak li għandek bħalissa li taf dwaru speċi. So that's also an interesting combination, and not a lot of people take it up. I think that's it on this. I'll come back to this later. Tits, do you want to take over?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Tiziana, and I've been at Atlas for the past 3 years now. I joined as an intern within the personal lines department, so basically where we sell cars, homes, boats, etc. I had joined between my second and third year at university, I remember, during summer, and what I can say is that it has been a very rewarding experience so far. I mean, I started as an intern, and last October I started working full-time over here, so I'm very happy to be here. The internship I found it to be very very good for me because it was very flexible. So for example, I used to work fewer hours in January and June, being that those are the exam period, and we have assignments and exams, etc. And then I used to work basically on a full-time basis during summer. As I previously mentioned, I started within the personal lines department, and then after a year or so, I moved to commercial lines. So the internship also gives you the opportunity to rotate amongst different departments. And as Margarita mentioned earlier, it's not just insurance, but there is also opportunities in finance, etc. What was also very useful when you start working in the industry, you start applying what you're learning here as well in your assignments and case studies that you have at university. So it kind of starts making, it's like a bit of a puzzle, but when you actually start working, it starts making sense, and you can actually understand better what you're studying, how it's applied. So and then obviously after I finished my undergrad, I chose insurance as to continue my master's in. That was also very interesting. The program is very interesting. It's quite up to date, so it's not just insurance, but it touches base with risk as well, which is also something which is evolving. And I think that's it basically. If you have any questions about the internship or about the course per se, you can always ask me at the end of the session. Thank you.
Okay, so basically, as Tatiana said, there are a number of benefits to the internship program, and basically all our students say that it really supported them during their studies and gave them, most importantly, the opportunity to apply what they're doing. Just a bit about us. If you're interested in an internship with us, I suggest you go to our website and read a bit about us and a little bit about our culture. And you can get in touch by clicking on the website. There's a link there, and it's very easy. Or you can send us an email or speak to Tiziana. So anyway, you find. So maybe Tiziana would give you real examples, much more sort of tangible responses. Okay, I think that's it from our end.
Thank you for your very interesting presentation. We received a question when we distributed our form. So basically, a student asked, what is the most realistic average pay per sector in Malta and Europe?
Well, Europe, I can't really comment because I wouldn't know. Realistically, it depends. I think having sort of internship experience helps you also negotiate a better starting salary, because you wouldn't start from zero. So you would have already the experience and you're going to be productive immediately once you switch to full time. So in that regard, I advise you all, no matter even if you're not in insurance, get an internship, and an internship, more importantly, with an employer that you envisage a future with, because it will give you a much more stronger standpoint when you're negotiating salary. I think to answer your question, it depends, but it's about 20 to 23 starting salaries usually, but then it depends again on your experience, whether you've interned before and what sort of role you'll be doing, because they're not all the same, and the responsibilities also to that role, because ultimately that is what determines your salary, the responsibilities that you give it. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yes, it was a perfect answer. Thank you very much. I don't know if any of the participants have any questions they want to ask, or maybe they can even send them in the chat.
Just one thing I wanted to add. As an intern, you're not given just the administrative duties, so to speak. So you learn how to deal with clients, you learn about the policies, because usually there's this perception that if you're an intern, you do the boring stuff. It's nothing like that. It's actually very hands-on, and you're basically treated as an employee, as a full-time employee. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
That's great to hear. Thank you for your input.
I have a question regarding the internship. We will be rotating through different sectors, or will be in one particular area only?
No, it's rotating. So usually we start people in our personal lines department. The normal sort of trajectory of an intern is you join at second year. You spend around a year in our personalized department learning about sort of the individual personalized products, which you would be touching motor, home, travel, and you'd start there, get understanding sort of underwriting, customer care. You learn a lot from customer care and personal lines. And then you move, and you can move either to claims, you can move to health, you can move to commercial lines, you can move to compliance. We offer a period, also a short period in risk management. But then again, it depends. Most of our students are, to be honest, most of our students would start in an apartment and they like it and they want to stay. We always encourage people to move, and we always try to provide the opportunity for people to move in the departments that they are interested in. Honestly, most of the time, that's what happens. Tiziana Ġifiri is a special case that she moved from personal lines to commercial lines. Okay. But she can confirm that we do push people.
Yes, for sure.
Start an internship. I'm starting my master's in October in insurance. So I will do, since it's only a year, kind of 6 months in personal and 6 months in commercial to get both sides of the spectrum.
Yes, for sure. Sometimes what happens, if you feel like you can, because as Sitya said, our internships are not sort of doing filing or anything like that. We go into the policy, you learn about, you can also administer policy from start to finish, bill it, whatever. If it's not overwhelming for you, then we encourage you to move. But sometimes what happens, because you're learning a lot on the job and you also have your sort of studies, people say, I don't want to learn all that much again, but we always move at the student's pace. And I would encourage you to move. I don't want to add a lot of pressure. Ultimately, you want to do well, no? At university. So
okay, thank you.
I don't know whether there are any more questions. I mean, even on recruitment questions, if anyone would like to ask something.
I think no one has any questions.
Anyway, you can contact us through our website. It will be anyone, even if you want advice on applying for jobs, anything you need, we're always happy to help.
It would be great if you could send your email in the chat then to everyone, please, so that everyone has access.
I didn't even introduce myself. I'm realizing. Sorry.
Thank you, received.
Feel free to contact me, Margarita Katia. I'm the head of talent and engagement for the group. So if you need any questions, if you need anything or have any questions, please do reach out.
I sent mine as well.
Thanks.
just in case.
Okay, then I think we can stop here. Thank you very much for your time. It was a very interesting talk.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Nice
Same
weekend.
to you. Nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining.
Good afternoon.
Mela, I'll give you a couple of minutes to settle in. I don't know if you're going to share any material on the screen.
Ray Bonnici, who is our Chief People Officer, will be joining soon. So
I am here, Elaine. I'm just trying to get the
okay.
to start. Okay.
Hi, Ray. We can see
Hello.
you.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Mela, I'll make Mr. Bonnici co-host so that you can share anything that you would like on the screen.
Okay. So just let me know when we can start, and I think we're ready to go.
Mela, you can start whenever you want to, but is it a problem if we record the session, please?
I'm fine, and I'll ask my colleagues also to say yes or no, but I suppose it's fine as well. Okay.
It's fine with me
Fine,
as well.
fine.
Okay, thank you. Then you may proceed whenever you'd like to.
Very well. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Myself and my colleagues are thrilled to be here this afternoon, and in the next few moments, I will do my best to give a very top line overview, a very high level overview of the activities of the people function at APS Bank, and then my colleagues will join me in talking a little bit about their area of expertise, and all of this with a view to increase the already growing interest that there is in the labor market for employment with APS Bank. So the people function, or the human resources function, call it as you wish, at the bank is built on three main pillars. Of course, we have human capital, and that has a lot to do with the recruitment and selection of candidates. We have career development, which is then, of course, naturally responsible for a highly structured training function that we have that transcends all departments of the bank. And we have recently started to develop our employer branding and succession planning function. This is also a growing unit within the people function. And here we have pooled all the bank's activities that have to do with employee well-being, employee welfare, and we are finding that increasingly these are becoming very high on applicants' agenda. So that's it from me by way of introduction. Just a top line introduction of the main areas of activity of the people function at APS Bank. My colleagues, I will now pass on to my colleagues, and they will talk to us a little bit about their areas. And we'll be happy to take questions during or after the event, or people can also contact us directly, and we'll be more than pleased to answer any specific questions that any of the students may have. So thank you very much again for this opportunity.
So I'll be taking the lead until Tanya rejoins, because apparently there might be some technical issues here. So I'll be starting off instead. So I join Ray in thanking you for this opportunity again. By way of introduction, my name is Emmanuel Shkembri. Prior to banking sector, I come from the law enforcement background, and today I will be briefly taking you through the FCC functions within APS Bank, what are our policies and our roles and responsibilities. So at APS Bank, the financial crimes compliance is split into 5 functions. There is the AML investigations and fraud, who takes care of the analysis and give guidance to the business. There's the transaction monitoring team, who also analyzes the alerts and report to the regulator. There is the sanctions and the bribery team. They maintain the country risk register and the screening on sanctioned individuals. The advisory team on retail and corporate customers, because as a bank we have both retail and companies as our customer base. And the AML operations team, who takes care of the day-to-day activities within the unit. So to start off with, I'm just going to briefly explain what money laundering is, so that to put things into perspective. So as many of you know, money laundering is the process by which criminals attempt to conceal the true criminal origin and ownership of proceeds of their criminal activities. Criminal activities, they can range from drug trafficking, human trafficking, as well as environmental crime. And if they are undertaken successfully, the criminals could maintain control over the illicit gains, as well as be able to enjoy them. So this is where we as practitioners come in, and to ensure that the bank is meeting the standards, policies, and regulations, both internally as well as externally. And when I say internally, in line with the bank's risk appetite and the customer's acceptance policy, and externally, it's in line with the regulatory obligations of the banks, the sanctions, as well as the directives issued from time to time. So to put things also into perspective, the scale of money laundering is very difficult to quantify, but just to give a brief idea, it is estimated to be between 2% and 5% of the global GDP. And for those who are wondering, that equates to around 715 billion euros to 1.87 trillion a year. So it's quite a substantial amount. So one might ask, what are the roles and responsibility of the bank in this regard? First and foremost, we have the business function, who are the first line of defense. Like any other business, the bank is there to make a profit. And obviously, as we attract and expand, we're going to attract new customers and onboarding new customers. So this will require the banking to make sure that these customers are aligned with the risk appetite of the bank. The second level is FCC. So that is where we as financial crime compliance come in. Our function is responsible for monitoring and overseeing the financial crime risk exposure of the bank, as well as assessing the impact and risk appetite of the business. Additionally, there are other additional responsibilities, which may include business-related giving guidance to the business, amongst others. And finally, the third line of defense is the internal audit. Obviously, their responsibility is to regularly assess the policies and the procedures and their effectiveness and consistencies. So at this stage, one might wonder, what is a typical day of an FCC officer at ABS Bank? So as a unit, we have several roles, as I mentioned in the beginning. We are not customer facing. This is very important because we have to remain objective and distance ourselves from the client. We provide guidance to the business in several areas, including onboarding of new clients, queries related to particular transactions or suspicious behavior. We also give advice in relation to business processes, particularly those processes which impact the overall risk of the bank. Continuously, we also give training, draft policies and procedures, and issue guidance notes. We need to make sure, obviously, the regulations update continuously, and we need to keep our hands on the ball to be as updated as possible. And we also act as the liaison between the bank and the regulator and also law enforcement. So just a quick through the process, the bank would be the first to identify a suspicious transaction or behavior. This will be reported to the regulator, who then eventually they will assess the criticality of the situation, and if there are sound grounds on which to action, they will be escalated also to law enforcement or otherwise to counterparts, to other counterparts, be it FIUs abroad or even the tax authorities. So what is the importance of the financial crime compliance? And to name a few things, first of all, it is about the integrity of the banking and the financial industry, which as a sector and an industry, it relies heavily on the perception that it functions, that is on the framework of having high level legal, professional and ethical standards. So this is one of the most valuable assets of a financial institution. There is also an adverse impact on the economic development of a country, for instance. So proceeds generated from crime are not entered into the financial system at their conception because they are within the black economy, what we call the black economy. So therefore, contributions are not paid to the government, which is also known as a more maybe familiar term as tax evasion. Similarly, companies will not be competing at a level playing field, because these companies, which are fronts of the criminal activity, they have substantial capital backing against them. So this will give them a competitive edge over legitimate businesses. Another impact is on the society and the economy at large, as the consequences of non-compliance are quite detrimental and serious. So imagine if the bank is found to be in breach of AML, CFT obligations, what will be the consequences? This might probably include a hefty fine, possibly withholding of operations for a period of time, or even suspension of license in extreme cases, which happened in Malta, as we all possibly know. So imagine what would be that impact on the general society who had entrusted the bank with their life savings and end up with possibly with nothing. So this leads me to the end of a very, very short presentation and introduction to financial compliance. It is a very interesting topic, which, as you can see, I'm passionate about. I hope that some of you have at least found this session to be of interest, and I look forward to seeing some of you in the near future, either as fellow practitioners or even better as colleagues. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Wishing you all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So just to remind everyone, and I apologize for not introducing my colleagues earlier, Emmanuel Schimbury is one of our managers within the financial crime compliance team, and I could not have described his role any more elegantly than he has. Again, as he said, it's a top line view. There's a lot more depth to it, but I believe that he's given us all a feel and a flavor of the breadth and the width and the scope of the responsibility within the FCC unit. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. I also extend apologies on behalf of my colleague Tanya, who is one of our branch managers. I believe she's having some problems reconnecting. She was online with us, but her connection suddenly disappeared. I know she's still trying to connect, but we'll move on with the rest of the team. So Elaine, I believe it's Jael who's going to take over now.
Today.
Very well, thank you. So Jael is part of our finance team. She is one of the managers within management accounting. Thank you, Jael.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. As a way of introduction, my name is Jael. I work within the finance department as a management accounting manager. As rightly said, the finance department is currently comprised of 3 units, which are the management accounting unit, the regulatory reporting unit, and the management accounting subsidiaries unit, in which there are several roles and responsibilities. I form part of the management accounting team, which does the typical accounting work like any other accounting firm. At a high level, such roles and responsibilities consist of in-house accounting, which includes preparation of payroll, paying supplier invoices and recording in the general ledger, Nostro and other day-to-day reconciliations, preparation of the business plan and forecast. We also prepare the monthly management accounts together with the annual, interim, and quarterly financial statements. We also compile the VAT return of the bank. We report the final withholding tax to the Commissioner for Revenue, amongst other tasks. Obviously, this is a high-level overview. So that's a typical day working in the management accounting unit. All tasks have different reporting deadlines, which we must adhere to. So it's important that we plan ahead so that work is done in a timely manner. I have been working with APS Bank for the last 8 years. I am very happy working in here as it is a very rewarding job. Working in finance offers a continuously challenging career, and there's a lot to learn as there are different roles one may take. It's also very important to keep abreast with the changes in the accounting standards that takes place from time to time. In fact, we attend several courses during the year to make sure that we keep abreast, to keep ourselves updated with the relevant standards. So this was a top-line view of working with the APS Bank, specifically within the management accounting unit. I will now pass on to, I think, Scott for his speech.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. And
Thank you, Jael, and welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jael. Good afternoon, everyone. I add my voice to the choir. Thank you for having us. It's a privilege and honor to be with you. And everybody has explained extremely well what they do. My name is Scott, and I'm the bank's voice of the customer manager. And I was actually the first voice of the customer manager for the bank. So if you're wondering what that is, don't worry, you're not alone. It is something still relatively new and being developed, especially here in Malta. And I'm just going to walk you through very, very high level some of what we do. Just before I do, a tiny bit of my background. I've worked with banks such as Santander, HSBC, and I spent almost 5 years with a third-party services provider where all of my clients were banks, such as Barclays, Citibank, Ernst & Young, Lloyds. So I feel like banking is in my DNA at this point. And now with APS. And APS is my favorite bank that I have worked for. And the reason why is that for what I do, it's looking after customer experience, feedback, and complaints. I can truly say from the inside that APS really cares about its customers deeply and all stakeholders, including its staff. And that really comes across in everything that the bank is doing. And having spent the last 3 years working for the bank, I can say that more so for APS than other banks where I have worked. So really APS truly puts its money where its mouth is and really ensures that the customer is kept at the heart of everything it's doing. That's where our team comes in. So we are responsible for ensuring that that focus is maintained on the customer, that our customers' feedback is listened to, that they are heard, that we are delivering what our customers would like to be receiving from us, and that any complaints or issues they may be having are also seen to and again tackled in the most appropriate manner. Of course, things at times may go slightly wrong, and that's life, and that can happen to any organization in any industry. What's important is how we respond. And that's really where we can gain our customers' trust, and that's something we're very successful with here. I don't know, Elaine, whether Tanya has been able to join. If not, I would be happy to mention a few points on the branch.
She still have some problems, Scott, so you can elaborate even further if you don't mind.
No problem at all. Well, like my colleague Tanya, who unfortunately is having some technical difficulties, and from all of the functions represented, we didn't bring a colleague from our technical team, so perhaps that was our mistake. But I come from a frontline background, the same as Tanya. You may have met Tanya if you've ever been to our Paula branch, so she's currently at the helm of the Paula team and doing a fantastic job. Essentially, with our branches, they are our community spaces. We are very much about being the bank of the community, and we have 11 strategically placed branches across Malta and Gozo. And that ensures that we can reach the members of our community who we provide banking services to. And at the branch, it's really about what the customer needs rather than what we wish to provide. So our services are designed around our customers' needs and expectations. That can be anything from lending. We're quite well known, for example, for our home loans, but actually we offer all banking requirements that a customer would need today. We recently launched our credit cards, for example. So we now offer a credit card, we offer personal loans, we offer bank accounts, savings accounts, fixed term deposits, and our branch staff will help our customers access any of these services. So whatever may be the right banking requirements for the customer, our team can help connect them to that. Again, there are cashier services at some of our tellers branches, so they may also help them with the encashment of checks, with depositing, with withdrawing funds. These are the more traditional aspects of being a bank. But in today's ever more digital world, the value that our team adds is the human touch. This is what we as APS do fantastically well. So we're always about treating our customers as individuals, not as a ticket, not as a number. And our branch staff are very much at the heart of this, ensuring that no customer is treated as a number and that everyone's individual circumstances are taken into account. So we very much work hand in hand from my team at Voice of the Customer and the branch and all of the departments within the bank. It is a family. Thank you for having us again. And I really hope to see some of you soon, because again, I can't stress enough that APS Bank is a fantastic place to be. Like I said, I've been here for the last 3 years and I would not regret a second of it. So I'm not sure who's following myself, but I hand over to Ray or to Elaine to kindly introduce the next speaker. But thank you very much, Betty Hafner.
Okay, thank you, Scott. As Scott said, this is a recently developed function within APS. It was, of course, handled piecemeal across the branch network. Now we have a much more focused approach on our customer service, and Scott is our brand ambassador, and we are very pleased to have him on the team. And I'm sure that he handles also compliments as well as complaints. So those also have to be handled professionally too. Okay, so I don't believe Tanya managed. It is a pity because Tanya is a long-standing member of APS and is managing our branch in Paola, a very, very busy branch. However, you know, we can either take some questions now from the floor, if this is possible. I don't know if this option is available to your students, or else we can talk a little bit about the size of the bank and how we are set to develop going forward. So please guide us on how you would wish us to proceed in the absence of one of our speakers.
We can open the floor to any questions if you would like. So if anyone has any question, feel free to speak up or send your question in the chat. But if no one has any questions, we can progress to explaining more about the bank, if you would like to, obviously.
Absolutely, yes. So we'll just wait a few moments to see if there are any questions from the students. Okay, so perhaps until questions come, what I can add is that today we have a very large family. We are in excess of 500 employees. We are currently standing at 535 employees. If you add our temporary employees, the numbers go up to as high as 570. But what is interesting over the last 4 years is not just that the numbers have doubled, but it's the areas of specialization that we're focused on. So if you look at the technical or the entry-level positions by way of percentage, they've dropped from 33% to about 22%. And this is because, you know, a lot of the activities are being taken over by better technology. And we are, although we're employing more people, we are employing more specialists. So the structure of the bank is one that is now a lot more robust, because we are poised to soon become supervised by the ECB. For those of you who know something about banking, in any geography, the three largest banks, when I say large by way of balance sheet, become supervised by the ECB. And with that sort of privilege, for want of a better word, comes a lot more onerous reporting requirements. And to do that, we've got to have the right technology in place, we've got to have the right data available, and we've got to have the right specialists who are able to report correctly in line with the rules and regulations. So we are planning. We know it's going to come. So as any good employer does, and as any good steward of the business, we are stewarding the business in a way to ensure that we've got the right people in the right places to ensure that once that day comes, and that will be soon, we have all the reporting requirements in place for us to move forward. We are an old bank. We have been here for over 100 years. We're 110 years old. The bank acquired its commercial license in the 1970s. And although the bank has flown under the radar for many decades, in recent years, the bank has completely transformed itself and is now a systemically important bank, supporting a very large part of the Maltese economy. Okay, I could say a lot more, but I know that we're also running out of time. So I think I'll just draw the line here in case there are any questions from the students.
I received just one question in the chat, and another one has just come in. So I'll first say the one that I received privately. So someone asked, which majors are given the most priority apart from banking?
So the question was, which majors?
Yes, because in university we have, I think,
Yes,
7 majors. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so to answer that question, clearly and without any hesitation, we have students from practically every faculty at university. So we do not exclusively take students from banking. So we are open to all. We take about 20 to 30 students every year, and my colleagues will correct me, but we have very few of those students who do not eventually stay on and pursue a career with us, because banking has many facets. So we have strategy, we have marketing, we have financial crime compliance, commercial banking, domestic banking, human resources, branding. There are just so many areas. So it's not purely banking, but banking is also made up of a multifaceted spectrum of specialized requirements. So the answer to your question is that we take students from all faculties.
That's great to hear. Thank you. If you open up the chat, there's a question from Mike Griffa.
Okay. I was born in 1963, so please help me on how to open it.
Like you can read it too. So the question is, internships in the area of investments are being offered by APS. Mike explains, I'm aware that APS offers open-ended funds and would like to know if positions related to security investment are available.
Okay, again, so the answer to that question is that we are open. We will be very pleased to hear from students who are interested in internships. We will be able also to develop bespoke internships. We have a very growing investment function. We have our own funds, very successful ones at that. So if anyone is interested, we will be happy to hear from them. And we have the possibility also to offer bespoke internship programs for your students. Absolutely. So please talk to us.
Thank you very much once again for taking the time out of your busy day to firstly explain and discuss with us, and secondly to answer our questions. Thank you all for joining. I think there's nothing left to add unless you want to add something.
No, maybe
So
on behalf of
wait.
my colleagues. Yes, Kenneth, go ahead.
I will be posting a link to the.
Let's introduce you.
program.
Let's introduce you, Kenneth.
Yes.
So Kenneth Atsopardi is head of human capital, one of the 3 pillars within the people function. Elaine, who is also with us, is responsible for career development. So Kenneth and Elaine head 2 of the important pillars within the people function. Go ahead, Kenneth.
Yes. In fact, I just posted a link on the chat, so everyone can access. We have it's all open all year round. We have an opening for undergraduates. So if someone would like to apply, even if not now, maybe at this point in time we don't have any vacancies, obviously we'll consider you even for later or for other projects that crop up during the year. It's always nice to have students from university, from other areas as well, because obviously it's an experience apart from studying, that you work and you get to know people and even the environment that we have at APS Bank. And as Ray said, most of the students decide to stay along with us because obviously they might tend to like certain areas they didn't even think of that in banking they exist. Because obviously sometimes when we are at university, we all were there, we study bits and pieces from different areas, and then obviously when you start working, then you get to know the real thing. So you would tend to like some areas and maybe not like as much other areas that you thought that they will be more fun than others. So I'll encourage you to apply, and maybe even we can have a chat over Teams with the applicants. So, okay, wish you luck. Okay.
One point that I would like to add to Kenneth's comment is that we are always on the lookout for talent, and our commitment is and will always be to retain and develop people. In fact, the bank invests heavily in the development of its staff, both academically and professionally, and offers and provides support through initiatives which also include professional training grants. So I suggest that you all reach out to us for further information about that as well. I think Scott has another thing that he would like to add. Scott?
No, I was really enjoying hearing my colleague's contribution, and I just wanted to add from a non-human capital perspective, but just a general banking perspective, that you're at a very exciting time in your life where you're now going to be setting the trajectory for the rest of your careers potentially. And banking is an incredibly stable sector compared to many others. So what we're finding now, particularly from younger people who are at that stage where they're planning out what they want to do and their careers. And if you don't still know what you want to do, that's completely normal as well, because we've all been there. But banking is incredibly stable. It's always going to be needed. We always need banking services. And again, sometimes banking gets a bad rap, let's face it, and sometimes unfairly, because banks all get tasked together. APS is different. APS truly cares about not only its customers, but its workforce. And you should really, really consider getting in touch. And as Ray mentioned, don't only wait for an opportunity. If you are interested, reach out to the bank, explain what you would like to do, and then we can keep you in mind if an opportunity comes up. And Elaine and her team are fantastic at doing that. So I just wanted to say thank you, and also profit on how well organized this event has been. You've all done an incredible job. So well done, everybody, and thank you again for having us.
Thank you. I'm certain that the students found this discussion to be very insightful. I myself have even changed my perspective on banking. So thank you. Thank you very much. It has been a true pleasure having you all speak and discuss with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely
Nice
afternoon.
afternoon. Thank you.
Have a nice afternoon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Mala, on that note, we can conclude our industry talk today. Thank you all for participating and joining us, and have a great evening.